probably know, the SHOT Show is every January. It's the largest trade show about firearms, and it's where the manufacturers go, the dealers go, the distributors go. It's hundreds of thousands of square feet, and there was a big announcement made, a week or so ago. Joining me right now to talk about that is Tom Taylor from SIG Sauer. Hey, Tom, how you doing, man?
Good, Tom. How you doing?
I am great. So you guys made the announcement. I know it didn't come easy because we had talked about this, that SIG is not going to be exhibiting at the SHOT Show this year. And for those who don't know and haven't been there, they may not understand the impact of that because you had a monster booth, this huge booth that's not going to be there this year. You want to kind of run us through how you got to this point, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, excruciating would be the right word, I think, to make a decision of that magnitude. When you think of SHOT Show and how long it's been going on, and especially what its purpose is, which, for anybody who doesn't know, you and I are both on the board. We believe in this, and it is the organization that raises funds for our industry to protect us with important things like the Protection of Lawful Commerce and Arms Act, among many, many others over the years. So it's critically important.
SHOT Show's put on by the National Shooting Sports Foundation. Yeah, and we're both on the board of governors there.
Yeah, so it's you and I very well understand what the purpose of the show is. I mean, yes, it's a big trade show, and we all go there and we display new products and see dealers and distributors and media and all those things that we do. Behind the scenes there, not being a public show. The thing is, right now there's a lot of factors at play, and if you walk back to last year, those of us who had to go through the first round of COVID, we waited for weeks and weeks and weeks to make decisions, and everybody was kind of deciding whether they were going to go to the show last year. And ultimately, the show had to be canceled, so no one ever had to actually make that decision. This year, there were a couple of things at play. Number one, we're just watching COVID, and every trade show we're sending our people out to, we have one or two or three people coming back with COVID, and these are anywhere from small to medium-sized shows that are happening different places around the country. As many people might know, the NRA show in Houston was canceled on Memorial Day weekend. But for SIG, we send 145 people to Las Vegas. We have a range day before the event, which is attended by about 1,500 people. And then, like Tom said, if you ever see our booth at SHOT Show, it's just a mob of people on top of each other. And again, anybody that's ever been to SHOT Show also knows that about half the people that go there come home sick pre-COVID, just flus and colds. And we had to make the excruciating decision of not waiting to understand what the situation might be in January to not send 145 people in there. The reason we made the announcement when we did why now, is because this year, for the first time in about 10 years, the NSSF had redesigned the show floor a bit. There's a new building involved, but they reorganized the space and they had a redrafting of the space. SIG is up to, I think we're the draft 7th. And so what happened was a number of companies drafted space around our booth. They locked us in, which we had designed a booth a couple of years ago to start highlighting our hunting products and things like that. And so we were locked into a space that was too small for our booth. And so it sort of, through some discussions with NSSF, they were able to resolve that, but it was going to force us to be in a completely differently configured booth, and the spending to do that was going to be almost $1 million. We had some ways to cut down some of that cost by some other savings, but still it was $1 million check roughly we were going to have to write for this reconfiguration. And so we were going to have to bet that $1 million on whether the show was going to happen or not.
So let me make sure, you were going to have to spend that money on the possibility that the SHOT Show is going to be held. And as we're speaking right now, the plan is the SHOT Show is going to be held, but there's always that possibility. So you're basically betting $1 million on the front end.
Yeah, $1 million. Now, there was offset. Our booth was going from a two floor meeting space configuration to one floor. We were going to have some savings in that. But at the end of the day, we still had to release our company that builds our booth.
Well, you know what people are saying. They're saying, well, SIG's pulling out, SIG's not supporting the Second Amendment, SIG's not doing, just all the stuff that's going to be spinning up on the internet.
Yeah, and the thing that I forgot to mention when we had our call last Friday with the National Shooting, or Friday before last with the National Shooting Sports Foundation, is that we are going to donate $500,000 to the organization, which is more than they would they make a profit from the booth space. That's how they fund the entire organization, which, as I said, their work is absolutely critical, to what we do as an industry. And so because of the fact that we weren't going to be there, we had made a commitment to donate $500,000, as we did last year when the SHOT Show was canceled. This isn't a statement about our future overall at SHOT Show. It's just that in these circumstances with the risk of COVID and that many employees, and I get it. A lot of people are saying COVID's not real. It's people should be able to make choices and vaccinations and masks and all the things that, we get the discussion. Believe me, we come from a sort of a group of people that don't take COVID as seriously as a lot of people, our industry as a whole, I think. And you look at the southern states and the gun industry, a lot of people don't take it, as seriously maybe as some of the government mandates that we see and that sort of thing. But running a company of 2,700 people across 3 states, in New Hampshire, where our headquarters and all of our gun manufacturing is, Arkansas, where our ammo facility is, Oregon, where our optics facility is. When you send employees away and they come back into those environments, and we have government contracts as well as the commercial market who's not very happy with the way we've been shipping enough guns over the past couple of years, it's a real risk. And there's 1 or 2 other major gun companies right now. Gun company executives talk a good amount about these sorts of things. And there's some companies that are having real COVID issues in their factories and having to close shifts and close operations at times. And so, these things, when you're running a company, they do impact the company, and you have to make decisions based around that. And we've seen a trend of people coming home with COVID. If
you have somebody on the line who tests positive with COVID, you may have to shut down the entire line for hours or days until you get all that sorted out.
Yep, we have to. We have contact tracing by cameras, and just we interview people who did. It's not quite as dramatic now with vaccinations and things like that, but through most of this situation, we've had to, if somebody has it, we have to go make sure who they came in contact with and look at video cameras to just see. And it's an incredible process to find out, because if you get into a super spreader kind of activity in a factory, which we've seen across America, and one major brand name company in our industry has had those issues and had to close their factories down for a period of time until they got it all sorted out.
At a time when you can't get enough product out the door anyway, because people are buying everything as it is. So
yes, definitely.
This was not an easy or painless decision for you guys.
Well, I've been in this industry for 17 years, and Tom, you and I go back to almost my first few days in the industry when I first met you, and I told you when we talked about this offline that it was probably the most difficult decision. I certainly didn't make it in a vacuum, but it's the most difficult decision I think I've ever been part of, because we understand the impact of SIG Sauer not being at SHOT Show. I mean, Vista Federal Ammunition has always been the biggest booth, and we're the second biggest booth. I think we are the most crowded, and we had made a decision to go to the largest presence in the show this year, or 2022. And so all of a sudden, when that booth, it's the largest show at a 65,000 person trade show, is all of a sudden gone. We understand the message it sends. We understand the impact it could have on others making decisions, but at the end of the day, when you run a business that's the size of ours, we had to make decisions based on 2 things. First and foremost was the risk to our employees and bringing it back to our factory with that many people going. And then the second one being that, I follow the comments online and that sort of thing, and people say, well, writing $1 million check should be easy for a company the size of SIG Sauer.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. Writing $1 million check is not an easy thing to do. And when it's just absolute risk. And the SHOT Show very well may go on, and if it does, I'll have to go out there for a board meeting. I mean, we will have to have some things going on in Las Vegas. There are other companies that are going through the same decision-making process that we did,
sure,
based on the risks that still exist in the world today.
Well, and there'll be more news coming as people make their decisions. I got to scoot, Tom. I wanted to make sure you had a chance to get the word out, because people are talking about it, and it's a real thing within the industry. I wanted them to hear directly from SIG.
Well, and I appreciate you giving us a chance just to let folks know, our rationale. So when you read comments or the negatives or whatever, I wanted people to understand the difficulty of the decision and the massive things at stake and how agonizing the decision was for SIG Sauer.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, Tom. Tom Taylor from SIG. All right.